Welcome back, friends, to the shop. In today's video, I'm going to cover the top 10 things that I did to my new Super Duty F350 to make it not so terrible off-road, because it was terrible. The suspension was awful. Half of the driving that I typically do is up the mountain on gravel or dirt roads, rutted, bad stuff, and it was deplorable, absolutely deplorable stock. So let's go over the 10 upgrades and we'll see where that takes us. I guess we'll start with the 2.5-inch King coilovers. Now this I put on, I didn't technically put a lift kit on here. No man over 50 installs lift kits on his trucks. That's a young man's game. When you're young and foolish, you do all that stuff, and then when you get older and wiser, no more puck lifts, no more rancho nonsense. Do it right, buy once, cry once, as you guys are always saying, right? But this is probably the best suspension currently that you can get. It raised the front end about 2.5 inches, which leveled the truck. If you look at it now, the back is sitting at stock height. That's the way that it is, but they have a little bit of a rake in the bottom and very little suspension, especially this year where they lowered the truck a little bit. This takes care of that. Now I got a nice big stroke and just absolutely fabulous planted suspension. Blasting 40, 50 miles an hour down washboarded, rutted trails yesterday. Didn't even spill your coffee in your cup. Incredible. The second thing I did, in addition to the Buckstop aluminum bumper and the 12,000-pound Badlands, which you saw, was the addition of the off-road lights. So I went with Pia LEDs. This is a 6-inch LED that is an off-road only spotlight, very, very bright, double the brightness of the headlights. And this is an amber road legal driving light. Now, why one white and one amber? If you drive in snow or you drive in a lot of dust, the amber lights, especially at night, have longer refraction waves or something to that effect, but it cuts through and doesn't reflect back that snow or dust near as bad. It's a lot easier on the eyes. To switch on the road legal amber lights, we're right here on the factory switch. It's on the relay. You don't know that it's not just the way that it was. It functions and operates exactly the way it was from the factory. Now for the off-road driving lights, I put those up on the upfitter switches. To switch the off-road spotlight, that is here on the #1 upfitter switches. New trucks now, you have an option from the factory for switches that are relayed all from the factory. Really nice. Basically, you've got a bus in the engine compartment that you can hook it up to, but you don't have to run crummy switches and garbage up and drill holes in your dash. So spotlight right there is on #1. The next thing I installed was an ARB air compressor in the engine compartment. Right there, you can see off of the auxiliary battery. We built a little custom mount, and we used the factory switch right here to turn on the air compressor right there. This is the pressure regulator here. So I had this put in at 70 PSI. So the compressor will shut off at 70. So with my inflator kit, that's what I'm gonna be running my tires at if I have the camper on, right? I'm at maximum pressure. So I don't have to worry about overinflating the tires. Reason why I switched it over here was this is where you're working with it, right? If you put the switch inside like everyone else does, you hook up your air hose, and then to turn it on, you got to go in and out, in and out. You know, every time you want to shut it off, right here, you hook up your hose, your inflator kit, you turn it on, you turn it off. This is where you're working. The next thing I did was an adjustable track bar. Now, the track bar from the factory, when you lift the front of these, because you're lifting it, it pulls the axle over to one side. Now, most guys don't do this with a leveling kit. I did because I wanted it perfectly aligned. I wanted it like the factory. I don't want any compromises, and it's a little bit heavier duty with better joints than the factory ones. So that just makes sure that everything tracks perfectly. We have the best geometry that we can for an aftermarket suspension. Put a lot into the rear suspension because I'm asking the truck to do so much, and that's carry that Arctic Fox camper. You can build for plush racing suspension, or you can build for hauling heavy weights, but be able to do both is kind of hard to do. So here's what I've got going on. All right, a lot going on here. Of course, the matching King 2.5-inch remote resi shocks in the back tune for this specific truck. Of course, those were installed to replace the factory ones. And of course, an airbag system that I can use. Now the airbag system gives you a little bit more payload and takes care of any sag problems that you might have. It just is a little helper hand for the leaf springs. But we didn't stop there. Now this is something I haven't used yet. We just put them on, and I'm going to put the camper on today, and we're going to go try it out. But I have to say, when I first put the camper on here, even with the huge sway bar that I added and the airbags, it did not feel confidence inspiring when I would get that side-to-side tilting. It was actually, I mean, it was scary. I felt it was scary and almost unsafe. So I looked into it, and I found these two products right here from Torque Lift. There's two things going on here. Now these little guys here, people just love these things, are little helper wings. So what the idea is that when you're towing something really heavy, like a couple thousand pounds, right? You spin these guys in, lock them out, and they prevent that side-to-side wobble, is what I've been told and what the videos show. So hope for the best right there. So that's what those are if you're looking at them. Now these bump stops, these are extended bump stops. These springs are called overloads. And if you put a huge spring pack in the back of a truck, it will ride so bad it'll just shake the fillings out of your teeth. So what they've done is they do these overloads so that if you use up all of the main spring, which is moving up and down, that and it sags to the point where this comes in contact, then you're not going to have that sway, you know, then it's going to give you extra stability, right? So when that thing starts to rock back and forth with that camper on there, these come in contact with the overloads. They're supposed to prevent that. So there's one on each end here. They just use the stock perches, and then we have the flip out wings, the Torque Lift flip out wings from there. So that's what those are for. Now if we go underneath, I've also added the Torque Lift, their huge adjustable rear sway bar, which is, goodness, 4 times the size of the factory one, and that definitely made a huge difference as well. Other upgrades while we're back here, of course I went with the Torque Lift. I think I have their whole product line. Super Hitch, which is a double hitch. You've got your 2-inch receiver, and then you've got your 2-inch and 2.5, and then the Bmw Adjustable Ball. So I've got the 2 and 5 and the 2-inch adjustable there that's theft proof. These things that stick out here, these are removable, but those are your camper ties right there, and those are built into the hitch. Very, very strong. And there's also a pair on the front. So there's actually pieces that will insert in there when we put the camper on. But if you're wondering what those are, that's what those are for. This is the 4th vehicle I've owned that's had airbags, rear airbags, and I've always put the Schraders on the back bumper, and the caps seem to fall off and they get dirty and they get drug around in the rocks and ruined. So for this one, we put them inside the fuel cap so they're up out of the way and kept clean and easier to get to. I think that just about covers it. There's a couple other things that I'm going to do. Of course, tires. I'll be most likely putting a pair of KO2s on. Those are my BFG. Those seem to work best in this area because of the snow. And I'm probably gonna do a pair of IR or infrared Baja design light pods on here somewhere. I'm researching those right now. Why would you put infrared lights on a truck? I'd like to be, here's what the goal is I want to have a master override switch in the truck that I can flip that will completely black out all of the running and brake lights. Meaning if I step on the brake, that the brake lights don't come on, no lights coming on the dash, no lights coming on in the cab when you open the door, so that I can drive with night vision goggles. I've always wanted to kind of do that, to be able to drive in the pitch black, have your truck completely blacked out, no light pollution, no lights, and be able to blast down whatever road, backcountry road you want to go, full speed with under no light and pitch black. How cool would that be? So that's something I'm working on right now, and then the tire combination. I'm not a big tire guy anymore. I used to be, and every truck that I've done that to ended up just ruining it. So I like the kind of the factory look, the government look. What I'm gonna go with wheels, I'm looking for an MRAP style wheel for an 8-lug, but I can't find them anywhere. The only ones I found were steel, and they were 4 times the weight of an alloy wheel, and I just don't want to go that hardcore. So there's going to be some, I'm going to do an internal bead lock, a DOT approved one. We'll talk about that in the future, but that'd probably be it. Bead lock the tires, or in a way that I can run low pressure, 345 PSI, the IR driving lights, the master override for all of the lights, and I think that's probably the bulk of it. Yeah, maybe take the running boards off. Mrs. W is not thrilled about that, but we'll see. As the truck seems to get higher and higher, the more she likes those running boards. So that's it. Just a little update on the truck. That's where we're at. Thanks for watching. May God bless you and your families. Please keep us in your prayers, and we'll see you all on the next video.